All right, so thought it'd be important, with some of the things we're going through, just to give an update on kind of the state of the team and some of those topics. Um, first and foremost, to hit it straight on, we have adversity right now. Slow start, 0-2, not where you want to be. We've dealt with life issues, we've dealt with injuries, and that's all real, and that's a part of what we do and what we got to deal with. The beautiful thing about our philosophy here, our organization, is we're solution oriented. We work together to find these solutions and solve our problems to get everything back on track. To make it really, really clear, I know the outside noise, but no one in our building's panicking. No one's flinching at any situations. Not our owner, not our president, not our head coach, not myself, none of our players. Everyone's focusing on solving the issues that we have so that we can be a better football team. And Flus and I were talking about last night, like we've both been through slow starts, rough starts, and got things back on track in our background. Him with Indy, I think it was 2018, myself in Kansas City in 2015. So sometimes you have these and you got to fight through it and figure out how you can be a better football team. With Flus, got a ton of faith in Flus as a leader. He's done a great job. And then as a defensive play caller as well, got a ton of faith there. Is the situation easy? It doesn't change easy. No, it's not. But he handled it well. He's leaned on his staff that has experience to help him get through that and be successful. We'll figure out all the titles and everything, I'm sure, next week. None of that's been dealt with right now. We'll get through this week. In terms of Allen, I don't have many details to add there. We try to work in truth. And I know there's a ton of misinformation out there. Yesterday, we talked about like Halas Hall being raided. That was completely false. Don't even know where that came from. Worked with Kevin and George, all of our leadership, to make sure we were handling it the right way, communicating properly, and then obviously everything concluded yesterday. But we have a ton of confidence in our plan moving forward. In terms of Justin, I can't be more clear than this. No one in our entire building, none of our coaches, see Justin as a finger pointer at all. The kid's always taken ownership of anything that's happened on the field. He takes it head on. He works. He grinds. He puts his head down. He works with his teammates, works with his coaches to find solutions. Everyone's trying to figure out like what's going on. In my opinion, you got a young quarterback trying to figure it out. You have a guy who hasn't had the cleanest start of his career, who last year, with the roster, had to put the team on the back, do some unbelievable things athletically. Now he gets talent around him and has to figure out and balance when to do those cool things athletically, when to lean on others, and that is sometimes a great place to live in, and that takes time. That takes time on task for him to take that next step, and everyone's on board helping him get into that place for him to be successful. And just to finish, I said it from the beginning, I feel good about this roster on paper. It's got to gel. It's got to work together. It doesn't happen overnight. Would you like it to? Absolutely. I wish the preseason was cleaner, where everyone was going a ton of reps. It didn't happen that way. We had to adjust. I believe that we have a better team. It takes time to gel. We're doing things the right way. And unfortunately, sometimes the right way is the hardest way. But in order to have success for a long period of time, we got to go through these things to be a good football team. So I'll answer any questions.
Right. Part of your job, obviously, is crisis management.
Yep.
How have these 2 weeks gone for you, and how in this week can you be a influential, solution-oriented person in steadying the building and the locker room?
Yeah, it's not panicking. It's taking everything one day at a time. It's communicating with your leadership group to make sure that you're making good decisions for the organization.
What's the disconnect between when you hear Flus say that the 12-game losing streak isn't affecting anybody, it's not affecting anybody's mentality, it's not mounting on anybody, but then a couple days later the quarterback comes out and he's clearly frustrated and kind of airs some of those things publicly. There seems to be a disconnect between it's not impacting us and then what happened in here yesterday.
Yeah, because I think what he was talking about is like it's the majority of the team, it's very different than what it was last year. And mentally, we don't just drag every year with us into the next year. When you're not winning games, like I can see the connect there. In terms of Justin and his frustration, I mean, the guy has been successful, the moment he stepped into high school football. So he's dealing with adversity and dealing with taking his game to the next level through many different situations and change. So I think that's kind of where you get the frustration.
Do you give credence though to what he said yesterday initially about coaching being a reason, part of the reason, not the only reason, part of the reason he's overthinking in games?
I think anytime when it comes to players and it comes to success, like it's everybody. Like when I listen to him and that whole deal, like the majority of it was like, all right, I got to create this clarity. I got to get better. I thought he took ownership of everything. He didn't have to say anything about that. Our coaches are like, how can we make you better? How can we help you be successful? And there's always that balance. So no one took it personally. Like we all know we have a hand in our success and we want him to be successful, and it takes everyone for him to be successful, including himself. And I thought he kind of hit on all of that. So it was no shock to anyone.
Ryan, what timeline can you give us? I know, respecting that there are some details you cannot give us about Alan Williams. What timeline can you give us in terms of when you became aware there was an issue, when he stepped away, leading through his resignation yesterday?
Yeah, I can't give many details there, but when he was in that practice, I think that was addressed to yesterday. That's the timeline.
Last question.
What about hiring a DC, or will Matt continue to call class?
Thanks, Ryan. Brad?
You guys, your coaches spent the entire offseason with Justin to take that next step. Working on stuff that elevate him.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't happened, and I realize we're looking at a small sample size here.
For sure.
2 ball games.
Yeah.
What's the level of disappointment that it's at where it is right now?
Yeah, I think I kind of hit on that. Like early in training camp, I thought you saw a lot of that come together. And in training camp, the quarterbacks live in a bubble, right? They're in this. They don't get hit. They can chill out. So then the next step is preseason to get that going. Well, we had some different situations where we had to make some calls in terms of guys being out. Is that risk management? Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? How are we gonna handle that? So then we move to the regular season, and some of these live reps are happening now, and we have to build through that for him to take the next step. So it's a work in progress, but I think it's really a time on task to get used to this new setup that he has and balancing when to do the athletic thing and then when to use his arms and his arm and lean on other people.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.